Her heart stopped for a second. On the open page, there was a pencil sketch of a woman lying on a sheet, her hair spread across the pillow, her lips slightly parted, and her eyes closed. She recognized herself. The jawline, the nose, the lips. It was her. Welcome to the channel Love Above All, Passion and Power Stories. Before we dive into this story, I have a challenge for you. If you enjoy the first few minutes, subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications. In a mansion surrounded by secrets and silence, a young housekeeper crosses paths with a reclusive millionaire marked by grief. What begins with strict rules and cold orders soon ignites into an intense and dangerous passion. But when the past resurfaces with destructive force, Camila and Grayson must face ghosts, guilt, and threats to discover whether love can truly bloom where pain once ruled. A story of redemption, desire, and the courage to love, even when everything seems to stand in the way. Ready to begin? Then let's go. The mansion didn't seem to like visitors. Camila Reyes felt it the moment the automatic gate closed behind the car that had dropped her off. The silence was heavy, the air thick. The dark concrete walls and mirrored glass seemed to be watching her more than protecting. It was as if the house whispered, "You don't belong here." She took a deep breath and tightened the strap of her backpack. It was just a job, a fixed salary, a clean room, a fresh start, or at least that's what they'd promised. The front door opened by itself, like magic. A hallway of white marble stretched before her, empty, no sound, no welcome, only that luxurious void that screamed absence. "Camila Reyes," a firm male voice called from behind her. She turned so fast she nearly dropped her heart. There he was, Grayson Wolfe, the millionaire architect, reclusive, genius or monster, depending on who told the story. Tall, dressed in a flawless black suit, no tie, a steel gaze. Too handsome to be real. But something about him, how he stood tall, how every inch of him seemed controlled, made even the air go quiet. "Yes, I'm—" She cleared her throat, trying to find her voice. "Camila, the new housekeeper." His eyes scanned her, not with desire, but with calculation, measuring, judging, classifying. "I don't like curiosity," he said flatly. She blinked. "With all due respect, I came here to work, Mr. Wolfe, not to snoop." He stepped toward her. The sound of his shoes on the marble floor echoed like thunder. "You don't enter the studio. Don't touch any book on the main shelf, and never go up to the second floor unless you're called." "Understood. And don't ask me questions." She raised an eyebrow, unable to help herself. "Then how will I know if I'm doing my job right?" The silence stretched. For a moment she thought she'd be fired before even being hired. Then he smiled, just one corner of his mouth, a cold smile, but still a smile. "We'll see." He turned and disappeared down the hallway, as if he had melted into the walls. Camila stood there, heart pounding, and with the strange feeling that, without even touching her, that man had just left a mark on her skin. The following hours were a test of nerves. She explored the rooms, each more impressive than the last. The house was a mix of art gallery and mausoleum. Everything was beautiful, but nothing was alive. By late afternoon, she found her room, simple, clean, comfortable, but with a glass door that opened to the inner garden, the same garden where hours later she saw Grayson Wolfe standing, shirtless, watering a plant. She couldn't look away. He looked like a sculpture. Broad shoulders, tense muscles, a distant expression. There was a scar on his back, thin, long, solitary, and for a moment Camila felt her heart race. He turned and saw her. Even from a distance she knew he had seen her, but he didn't smile, didn't wave, just stared at her for a few seconds that felt eternal, then turned back to the garden as if nothing had happened, but for her, Something had. That night, she found a simple note on her bed, bold, direct handwriting. Do not enter the studio, ever. GW. Camilla held the paper for several seconds, her heart racing. She had no idea what was inside that studio. But now, she needed to know. And even more dangerous, she needed to understand the man who signed those silent commands. Grayson Wolfe was cold, controlled, inaccessible, but behind the armor there was something calling to her, and she was already listening. She lay down, but sleep wouldn't come, because the mansion whispered secrets, and its owner was already invading her thoughts like a touch that hadn't happened yet. The next morning, Camilla woke before sunrise. She had barely slept a few hours. The house's silence made every creak in the floor sound like a scream. But it wasn't just that. It was the note. Do not enter the studio, ever. She had read it 10 times before finally leaving it on the nightstand. But even from afar, the words pulsed. Why would a man like Grayson Wolfe, controlled, calculating, flawless, feel the need to forbid a simple housekeeper from entering one room? The studio wasn't locked. She had already passed that dark wooden door at the end of the west hallway. It was the only door with a weathered iron handle, and now it seemed to breathe. Camilla dressed silently and got to work. First cleaning the main hall, then restocking the kitchen, and finally the hallway of bedrooms. Wolfe hadn't left the second floor, the floor she also wasn't allowed to go. Everything in that house came with a rule, but never with an explanation. Around 10 a.m., she heard him for the first time. Footsteps, slow, precise, like a man who even controls the sound he makes. Camilla was in the library, organizing books, when she felt the air shift, like someone had opened an invisible door. She turned, and there he was. Grayson, dark grey suit, hair slicked back, eyes even colder in the morning light. "Coffee," he said without preamble. She nodded, trying to hide the flush rising in her chest. "With sugar? I intend to keep my bitterness intact." She smiled, against her will. He observed her a second longer than necessary, then turned and vanished into the other wing of the house. Camilla exhaled. He was like a storm that passed nearby without touching, but still left you soaked. At lunch, while setting the table, Camilla noticed something strange. A book left on his chair, open, with notes. She approached by instinct. It was a sketchbook, drawings of projects, houses, structures, and faces. Her heart stopped for a second. On the open page, there was a pencil sketch of a woman lying on a sheet, her hair spread across the pillow, lips slightly parted, eyes closed. She recognized herself. The jawline, the nose, the lips. It was her. Camilla closed the notebook with trembling hands, glancing around. How had he drawn that? By watching her, dreaming. And why, instead of fear, did she feel desire? She had to understand. She had to know who this man really was, and that meant she had to go where she wasn't allowed to. That night, with her heart pounding in her chest, Camilla walked toward the west hallway. The house was dark, silent. Grayson hadn't come down for dinner. His door was shut. She stopped in front of the studio. The handle was cold, the wood heavy. And then, with an impulse she couldn't suppress, she turned the knob. The door opened with a soft click. The studio was different from the rest of the house. There was no luxury there. It was raw, real, a space where control didn't exist. Unfinished canvases, old photographs, whiskey bottles, charcoal marks on the walls. And in the center, an easel covered by a black sheet. Camilla stepped closer, gripped the fabric, pulled, and what she saw took her breath away. It was a portrait of a woman, stunning, intense eyes, a soft expression, a blue silk dress. But the most striking thing was that she looked exactly like Camilla, the same gaze, the same face shape, as if Grayson had been painting her before even meeting her, or as if she were a repetition of the past. Camilla stepped back, breathless, and then she heard the door close behind her. She turned. Grayson was there, dark eyes, heavy breath, a deadly silence. "I told you not to come in here." Camilla felt her stomach drop. "Who is she?" He stared at her, and then answered, his voice lower and more dangerous than she'd ever heard. "My wife, the woman I lost, and the one you keep bringing back." In that instant, Camilla realized she was caught in something far deeper than attraction. She was the echo of a lost love, and the beginning of a forbidden passion. The silence that followed was suffocating. Grayson Wolfe stood still, the door shut behind him like a verdict. His gaze was no longer just cold and distant. It was the gaze of a man at war, between anger, confusion, and a desire he seemed to ache to suppress. Camilla remained by the easel, the black cloth at her feet. She looked at the painting once more, then at him. She looked just like me? Grayson took a deep breath, fists clenched at his sides. "No," his voice was firm, "but you remind me of her, sometimes, without meaning to. Other times, like now." Camilla swallowed hard. "Is that why you hired me?" "No," he said quickly. "I never even saw your photo beforehand. It was coincidence, or fate's cruel joke, but the resemblance, it hits me every time I look at you." She wanted to run, scream, but she didn't move. "I'm not her, Mr. Wolfe." "I know." He took a step forward. "And that's what scares me." "Why?" "Because with you, what I feel has nothing to do with what I had with her." Camilla frowned, confused. "Are you saying that—" He cut her off. "I'm saying you take my breath away, Camilla, but not because you look like the woman I lost. It's because, even knowing I shouldn't, I want you." The tension between them sparked like fire. Camilla trembled. The words she should have said vanished. Only heat remained, confusion, and a desire growing too fast. Grayson stepped closer. "You invaded my space, disobeyed my order. But worse than that, you stepped into a place no one else ever could." "Where?" "Here." He touched his chest. "And that makes me want to break every rule I've ever made." Camilla backed away, shaking. "I'm your employee. Not for much longer if you don't want to be." "This can't happen." She lowered her eyes, stepping back. He moved closer. "But it already is." She raised her face and their eyes met. It was magnetic, tense, burning, unstoppable. And when he lifted his hand to touch her face, she didn't pull away. But the touch never came. Grayson stopped at the last second, his fingers just inches from her skin. "If I touch you now, Camilla, there's no turning back. And what if I don't want to go back?" He held his breath. But instead of moving forward, he stepped back. "Leave the studio. Now." Camilla hesitated. "Are you going to fire me?" "No. But if you stay here one more second, I can't promise I'll keep pretending to be the man I've tried so hard to be." She walked past him slowly, her shoulder brushing against his arm. The smell of his skin, the heat of his body, everything made her want to stop. But she didn't. She left, and walked out of the studio with her heart pounding like she'd just run a marathon. In the days that followed, Grayson avoided any direct contact. He gave orders through notes, locked himself in his office, and the studio door now remained closed and locked. But Camilla knew. He felt her. And she felt him too. The tension between them grew in every hallway, every accidental encounter, every loaded silence, until one rainy night she found him in the inner garden, soaked, wearing a wet white shirt, staring at the sky. She approached slowly, holding a towel. "You're going to get sick." He turned his head slowly. "Maybe I already am." She stared at him, unblinking. "What are you doing out here?" "Trying to forget that I want you in every way I swore I never would again." She stepped closer. "Then stop trying." He took the towel from her hands, but he didn't dry his face. He simply pulled her by the waist, with the same precision he used to draw his designs. Camila was just inches from him, the rain between them, their skin burning underneath. But he didn't kiss her. Not yet. "When you give yourself to me," he said, voice hoarse, "it won't be just skin, Camila. It'll be soul. It'll be free fall." She answered without hesitation. "Then push me." And in that moment, Grayson Wolfe knew he wasn't just desiring a woman. He was on the verge of loving someone he wasn't sure he could protect from himself. The rain ran down Camilla's face like it was washing away the past. Grayson still held her by the waist, breath uneven, eyes locked onto hers, like searching for a permission that had already been given. "Are you sure?" he whispered, his fingers pressing gently against the skin beneath her shirt. She didn't reply with words. She simply leaned in. Her lips brushed his like a silent question, and when he answered with a firm, urgent, unhesitating kiss, she knew there was no going back. The touch they had avoided now exploded. Grayson kissed her like a man who had denied himself feeling for too long. His hands moved over her with control, but there was raw tenderness in his touch, like each second was an apology to himself. Camila felt her body lift. He carried her inside the house like a secret. The steps were quiet, but the desire between them was deafening. In his bedroom, dark wood, tall windows, a wide and austere bed, Grayson laid her down gently. There was no rush, no words. Only surrender. He slid her wet shirt from her shoulders, and every inch of exposed skin felt like a trapped sigh. "Are you real?" he whispered, his dark eyes watching every movement she made. "I'm here," she answered firmly. And then he made love to her. No masks, no restraints, as if he needed her to breathe again. Hours later, Camila lay on her stomach, sheets wrapped around her body. Grayson was beside her, staring at the ceiling, one arm behind his head, the other hand lightly tracing her back. "You're not her," he said suddenly. Camila turned her face toward him. "I know. But it's like you've brought back pieces of me that died with her." She moved closer, slowly brushing her hand across his chest. "Does that scare you?" "It does. But even more than that, it wakes me up." Camila stayed silent, but deep down, something had begun to grow. Something beyond desire, something dangerous. Because there, in the middle of a story built on ruins, she felt like something new could be born. In the days that followed, everything changed. Grayson was no longer just the man who gave orders through notes. Now he watched her with a different intensity, touched her with the hunger of someone seeking more than just pleasure, ate with her, asked questions, sometimes even laughed, and at night he lost himself in her all over again. But with closeness came the cracks. One morning, while cleaning the library, Camila found a drawer left open. Inside, an envelope with old papers. She didn't want to look, but she did. And there it was, Olivia Wolfe's death certificate. Cause of death, fall from the second floor of the mansion. Camila froze. The house had no window bars, no cameras in the bedrooms, and no one ever spoke about her death. Was it an accident, suicide, or something else? That night, she waited for Grayson in the bedroom, sitting, fingers interlaced, heart heavy. He entered, already removing his jacket, but stopped when he saw her face. What happened? I saw the death certificate. Silence. He walked to the window, turned his back. You went into my past without asking? It was there. Open. Maybe because part of me wanted you to see it. She stood up. Then tell me the truth, Grayson. He turned slowly, his eyes darker than she had ever seen. Olivia jumped. On the day she realized I didn't love her anymore. Camilla felt a knot in her throat. And did you blame her? I blame myself, every day, for not being able to love her the way she deserved, for not stopping her, for surviving. And now, I'm afraid of getting close to you and ruining everything again. Camilla walked to him, touched his face. I'm not fragile, Grayson. And you don't need to hide. He kissed her fiercely, as if that truth had set something free. But inside Camilla, a certainty was growing. His past had not been fully buried, and the ghost of that woman, the wife who fell, still haunted the walls of that house. While Grayson slept beside her, more vulnerable than ever, Camilla stayed awake, staring at the ceiling, knowing that to love this man completely, she'd have to face the ghosts he dared not name. The silence in the house was different that morning. It wasn't just an absence of sound. It was the presence of something that didn't want to be seen. Camilla felt it in the air, in the cold floor, in the shadows dancing along the tall windows. Grayson was still asleep when she got up. His body looked finally at peace, but his face didn't. There were tense lines like sleep was never rest, just a pause between internal wars. She went downstairs quietly, passed by the west hallway, again past the studio door, still locked, but it was the sound that made her stop. Soft, rhythmic, like footsteps or knocks, coming from upstairs, the second floor, where she was not allowed. But everything forbidden in that house seemed to call Camilla even more. She went up, for the first time. The second floor was darker. Heavy curtains covered the windows. Old rugs lined the floor. The air held the scent of lavender and dust. It was a floor untouched, unlived. And at the end of the hallway, a slightly open door. Camilla pushed it slowly. It was a bedroom, but not just any bedroom. It was Olivia's. Everything was still there, intact. The vanity with her perfume bottles, the blue dress hanging on the wardrobe door, the delicate slippers placed beside the bed. Camilla shivered, then her eyes landed on the wall by the window. Framed in thin glass, there was a letter. In Olivia's handwriting, if one day he can love someone the way he tried to love me, I hope that person knows how lucky she is. Camilla stood frozen. The weight of those words hit her like a silent thunderclap. She didn't know how long she stood there until she heard a voice behind her. I told you not to come upstairs. She turned slowly. Grayson was at the door, paler than ever, rage restrained in his eyes. I heard a sound. I followed my instinct. This floor is not instinct, it's memory. She lowered her gaze. I saw the letter. He closed his eyes for a moment, as if it tore him apart. Olivia was everything I thought I needed, and everything I failed to protect. Do you still love her? He didn't answer right away, then walked to the center of the room, his footsteps heavy on the thick rug. I respect her, but love, that's not what remains. Then what does? He looked at Camilla. Guilt and fear of repeating it all with you. She moved closer. I'm not a repetition. But you walked into a place no one has entered since she died. That changes everything. She touched his arm. I don't want to take her place, Grayson. I want you to see me as something new. And that's what terrifies me. Why? He turned his face away. Because I want you in a way I never even wanted her. And that means I could lose you even faster. Camilla leaned her forehead against his chest. Then lose me, but live me first. That night, they fell asleep in each other's arms. Two bodies tired of running, and when Camilla woke up in the middle of the night, she realized Grayson was dreaming, restless, murmuring. His fingers clutched the sheets. She moved closer and listened. "Don't jump. Please, don't jump." The words chilled her. She stroked his face, trying to soothe him, but she knew there was more to this story, something Grayson hadn't told her, something eating him from the inside. The next morning, she entered the studio. Grayson was waiting with a covered canvas. "I need to show you something," he said, his voice rough. She nodded, her heart racing. He pulled the cloth away, and there it was, her, painted, but different. The face wasn't sad. It wasn't a reflection of Olivia. It was strong, present, eyes open, intense, lips slightly curved. "This is how I see you," he said, "as the woman who stepped into my shadows and lit something I thought was dead." Camilla approached the painting, moved. "And now? Now. I need to be worthy of it." And as he pulled her into a slow kiss, full of unspoken promises, Camilla knew the love between them was born in the place where most would have given up, in the darkest part of the soul, where only those who truly feel dare to stay. The next morning arrived with the scent of coffee and unspoken promises. Camilla woke up in the studio, wrapped in the white sheets of the wide sofa where Grayson had insisted she sleep, just for tonight. Their bodies had remained close, as if the other's warmth was the only thing keeping them from freezing inside. Grayson was already awake, sketching in silence. His white shirt sleeves were rolled up to his forearms, his hair slightly tousled. She could watch him for hours, and she did. There was something hypnotic about the way he created. Total focus, a tense expression, and a beauty she still couldn't believe was real. But the spell broke with the sound of the doorbell. Grayson stopped. The charcoal slipped from his fingers. He looked at the door as if the world was about to invade his sanctuary. "Are you expecting someone?" Camilla asked, slowly sitting up. He didn't answer. He just stood, shoulders tense, and walked out without a word. She followed quietly, staying back to observe. When Grayson opened the door, Camilla instantly knew that the past had a body, a scent, and a voice. "Hello, Grayson." The woman was tall, blonde, elegantly dressed. Her heels hit the floor like muffled gunshots. Her heavily made-up eyes sparkled, not with warmth but with venom. "Rachel," he said, voice dry. "I've come to take what's still mine." Camilla's stomach turned. Grayson remained firm. "You don't have anything here." "I'm listed in Olivia's will," Rachel replied without hesitation. "And half of this estate still legally belongs to me, including the second floor, including that bedroom you turned into a mausoleum." Camilla stepped back, stunned by the words. Rachel was Olivia's relative? Grayson didn't hide his irritation. "You vanished after the funeral, and now you come to claim ghosts?" "Not ghosts, darling, assets." He crossed his arms. "You have 1 minute to leave my house." She smiled sharp. "Or what? You'll paint me until I disappear." Grayson slowly closed the door. He didn't yell. He didn't respond. But Camilla saw it. He was shaking inside. When he returned to the studio, he found Camilla standing in front of the covered painting. "Who is she?" He sighed. "Rachel. Olivia's sister. She never accepted that her sister was lost. And even less that I survived. What does she want? To stir things up, break what's left, see if I still fall." Camilla stepped closer. "Are you going to let her?" He pulled her into him, resting his forehead on hers. "Only if you let me go." She smiled, even with a heavy heart. "I'm not letting go." But Rachel's poison spread quickly. The next day, a journalist called Camilla, claiming to have intimate details of her relationship with Grayson. Olivia's past returned to the tabloids, and now, with Camilla in the picture, the narrative was perfect. The replacement, the look-alike, the new obsession of the tragic widower. Grayson was furious. It was her, Rachel. She started this war. And how does it end? When I erase every doubt about you. He disappeared for hours, speaking with lawyers, former contacts from when he was still in the public eye. Camilla, meanwhile, battled something harder, her own insecurity, because now she wasn't just the woman who cleaned his house. She was the center of attention and the mirror of a dead woman. That night, Grayson came to her room with a folder in hand. These are the papers that void Rachel's rights to the house. It had been archived, but I got it reactivated urgently. She took the documents, eyes welling with tears. Why did you do this so fast? Because I can't let anything or anyone make you think you're here by accident. Camilla took a deep breath. And what if I am? You're not. He kissed her, this time with hunger, with certainty. She returned it with equal desire. But when they parted, he said firmly, I'll protect you from everything, even from myself if I have to. Camilla held him, but inside she knew the worst war hadn't even begun. Because when ghosts from the past gain faces and voices, love must be stronger than fear, or everything collapses before it has a chance to bloom. Peace in the Wolf House lasted less than 24 hours. The next morning, a new visitor shattered the delicate balance Grayson and Camilla were trying to rebuild. But this time, it didn't arrive in heels or expensive perfume. It came in a brown envelope, discreetly left by a deliveryman. Camilla was the one who found it at the entrance. Grayson was still asleep, his naked body covered only by a white linen sheet. His vulnerability, so human and breathtaking, made her hesitate for a moment before opening the envelope. But curiosity and fear won out. Inside was a single item, a copy of Olivia Wolf's diary. Camilla's hands trembled before she even read the first lines. If he ever found out, if Grayson ever discovered what I did, he would never forgive me. And if she shows up, the one who's always in the visions, I'll know my end has come. The handwriting was elegant, emotional, every word stained with pain, regret, panic. Camilla kept reading, devouring the scanned pages. She will come. With eyes that challenge, warm skin, a strong voice, she will replace me. And maybe then, Grayson, we'll finally know love. Camilla staggered back, the diary slipping from her hands. This was more than a provocation, it was a premonition. Or worse, a curse left as an emotional inheritance. What's that? Grayson's voice came from behind her, still rough with sleep. She turned, eyes wet, body tense. It's hers, Olivia's. Someone sent her diary. He took the envelope, read the first few lines, and his face turned pale. This can't be real. But it is. And you need to tell me the truth now, Grayson. He swallowed hard. I didn't know she wrote. I've never seen this diary. Camilla felt her heart pounding. What did she mean by what I did? He was silent, too long. Camilla stepped back. Grayson. He began, voice faltering. Olivia knew our marriage was over, and just before her death she started saying she felt someone watching, that a woman was coming. I thought it was paranoia, the delusions of someone broken. But what if it wasn't? What do you mean? What if she knew about me? Grayson looked at her like he was seeing something mystical, something impossible to explain. This is madness. Then why did you hire me? Why me, out of everyone? He stepped forward, eyes blazing. Because you walked in. In a way no one ever has. It wasn't a choice, it was fate. She swallowed the emotion. Then why does this all feel like a repeat of the past? Grayson lowered his head. Because maybe you're my chance to finally get it right. But Camilla couldn't breathe in that house anymore. She left without saying a word. She walked through the hills of Malibu for hours, trying to understand where she had gotten lost, whether she was just living an echo of a dead love, whether she was just a replacement with a different name. Deep down, she wanted to believe in Grayson. But how do you trust when ghosts dictate the course of a passion? When she returned to the mansion at dusk, she found Rachel sitting on the front steps, dressed like she owned the place. "Told you," she said, without even looking up. "He carries more than guilt. He carries a curse." Camila stayed silent. "Do you really think he'll choose you in the end?" Rachel went on. "He only knows how to love what he's already lost." "Maybe," Camila replied, lifting her chin. "But I'm still here, and he hasn't lost me yet." Rachel smiled, sarcastic. "Yet." Camila entered the house. Grayson was waiting on the stairs, eyes sunken, shirt half open, like time had passed differently for him. She climbed slowly, stopped in front of him. "I'm scared," she said. "So am I," he answered. "But even so, I want to try." He pulled her into a tight hug. "I'm not going to lose you, Camila." She held him tighter. "Then fight for me, against her, against the past, against everything." "I will." And their kiss that night wasn't about passion, it was about war. Two hearts swearing to endure. Because when the past tries to dictate the future, only true love can rewrite the story. Even if it hurts, even if it bleeds, even if it nearly destroys everything before it blooms. In the days that followed, the house became a silent battlefield. Grayson was more present, more intense, more protective. Every gesture carried a visible effort to rebuild, to prove without words that Camila was more than a replacement. She was a choice, a desire, a love. But the past doesn't disappear with kisses or promises. Rachel still lingered, not physically but in messages, in subtle threats to the press, in small provocations delivered by lawyers at the gate. Grayson tried to shield Camila from it all. But she knew. He was at war, and part of that war was with himself. On Friday afternoon, Camila found a new box in the library. It was marked with Olivia's name in faded gold lettering. It looked like it had been forgotten there for years. But someone, perhaps Rachel, had deliberately left it in plain sight. Inside, only a flash drive, and a note, unsigned. "Before you run from your own story, watch this." Camila held the object in her hands, heart tight. She knew it could destroy everything, but she also knew that living with doubt would eat her alive. That night she waited for Grayson to fall asleep beside her. His breathing was calm, his arm over her waist like a shield. She kissed his forehead, got up silently and went to the office. Alone, she plugged the flash drive into the computer. The video began with a shaky image. It was Olivia, sitting in the inner garden, hair loose, wearing a blue dress. Her eyes sad. She spoke softly, almost as if talking to someone who didn't exist yet. "If you're seeing this, it's because he let you in. For real. Which means, finally, I've been forgotten." Camila shivered. Olivia continued, "I know what I'm doing may seem cruel, but Grayson never knew how to love gently. He carries people like stones, and when he drops them, everything falls apart." She took a deep breath. "I loved him, but I also poisoned him, because his love was always silent, and I wanted screams." Eyes misty, she whispered, "If he loves you, he'll be scared. He'll try to run. He'll shut down. But you have to stay. Because he only survives when someone chooses to stay even after the fall." Camila put a hand to her mouth, moved. Olivia smiled one last time, a small, resigned smile. "And Grayson, if you ever watch this, forgive yourself and love. Love for real, without fear of losing." The video ended in silence. Camila closed her eyes, and for the first time she didn't feel Olivia as a threat, but as a blessing. The next morning, Grayson found her on the porch, wrapped in a blanket, staring at the horizon. "You didn't come back to bed," he said. "I couldn't sleep." He sat beside her. "Is everything okay?" She hesitated, then took his hand. "I watched the video." He froze. "What video?" "Olivia's. She left a message." He took a while to respond. "And what did she say?" "That you love in silence, but you only survive if someone chooses to stay." He lowered his head. "I'm scared of losing everything again, Camilla. That's why I shut down sometimes. Then open up to me, even if it hurts, even if it takes time." He looked into her eyes, his expression raw, unguarded. "I love you." Camilla smiled, silent tears falling. "I love you too." He kissed her as if, in that moment, the entire past had been buried, not forgotten, but closed. The following week, Rachel was officially removed from any claim to the property. Camilla now signed as a partner in the art foundation Grayson had created in Olivia's honor, a gesture of peace between past and present. And on Saturday night, beneath the starry Malibu sky, Grayson knelt in the garden, with a simple ring and a gaze finally free. "I don't want you to be my housekeeper, Camilla, or my memory. I want you to be my now, my future." She smiled through tears. "Yes, 1,000 times yes." And as Grayson lifted her into his arms, his heart finally at peace, Camilla knew their love hadn't just defeated the ghosts. It had turned pain into light, and silence into forever. The lights in the house were warmer now. They felt less severe, less cold. It was as if, with Camilla's yes, even the walls had breathed in relief. The ring on her finger was simple, but no jewel in the world shone brighter than Grayson's eyes when he looked at her. They were living days when love felt stronger than everything, stronger than pain, than the past, than fear. But love doesn't erase what was buried. Camilla knew that better than anyone, because she too had a secret, one Grayson didn't know, one she had buried so deeply she swore it would never resurface. But her ghosts knew how to swim too. That afternoon, Camilla was in the guest room, organizing clothes to donate, when she heard the sound of a notification on her phone. She picked it up slowly, until she saw the message, anonymous text. "You think you can erase what you did? I know who you are, Camila Reyes, and I will expose you." Her heart pounded, her hands went cold, the phone almost slipped from her grip. No name, no traceable number, just the threat. Raw. She sat slowly on the edge of the bed, trying to breathe. This couldn't be happening. Not now. She deleted the message, as if that could make the truth disappear too. But she knew. She couldn't run forever. That night, she lay beside Grayson but didn't sleep. She stared at the ceiling, remembering the last time she saw her sister's face, a face like hers, younger, more innocent, a stupid fight, an impulsive escape, an accident, and the weight she had carried ever since. Grayson stirred, pulling her closer in his sleep, his arms around her waist like an unconscious promise. "Are you okay?" he murmured, his voice thick with sleep. "Just thinking." "About what?" She hesitated. "About how life sometimes gives you a second chance, and you don't know if you deserve it." He kissed her shoulder. "You deserve everything, Camilla." She closed her eyes and lied with her silence. But the silence was broken 2 days later. Another envelope, this time slid under the door. Grayson found it first, opened it, not knowing what to expect. Inside, just one printed sheet. "Ask Camilla about Helena Reyes, about what she's hiding, about why she really came to this house." Grayson froze. The name didn't ring a bell, but the impact was immediate. He waited until Camilla finished her shower. When she entered the bedroom, hair still damp, robe loosely tied. She found the envelope on the bed, and his gaze changed. "Who is Helena?" The world stopped for 2 seconds. Camilla felt the ground vanish beneath her feet. "Where did you see that name?" "Someone's trying to get to me, but they're using you as the way in." He looked at her. "I need to know, Camilla. Who is Helena?" She sat down slowly. "My sister." Silence. Grayson waited. "She died 4 years ago," Camilla whispered. "We fought. She left home, took the car, and she didn't finish." "You blame yourself?" She nodded, eyes full. "It was my fault, and I never told anyone. I ran, came here. I thought I could start over, that I could be someone else." Grayson stepped closer, sat beside her. "Why didn't you tell me?" "Because I thought that if you knew, you'd only see the broken parts." He gently touched her face. "I fell in love with you with every crack, every shadow, every truth." Camilla cried in silence, and Grayson held her tight. "Now it's my turn to protect you. And if that person keeps coming after us, then we stop running. We face it, together." But while they slept outside, a figure watched the house from afar, with a phone in hand and a smile on their lips. Camila Reyes hadn't run far enough, and the past was only beginning to collect its debt, because sometimes love must face not only the other's ghosts, but the monsters we swore we'd keep locked away forever. The next morning, the bomb exploded. Camilla woke to endless notifications on her phone, missed calls, messages, and when she opened the browser, the world she'd been trying to rebuild was already in ruins. Fiancé of architect Grayson Wolfe linked to her sister's death, Camila Reyes and the unresolved accident, what Los Angeles never knew. The dark past of the woman who captivated a reclusive widower. She felt the bitter taste of exposure. Helena's name was on every news site. The story of the accident, never fully explained, was now tangled with sensationalist speculation. And among the published photos, one of them, Camilla entering Grayson's house for the first time, months ago. "Rachel," she whispered, curling up on the couch. It had to be her, the only one still with something to gain by destroying them. Grayson arrived minutes later, eyes burning, but it wasn't anger at Camilla. It was pain. "Did you see it?" "I saw. We'll respond to the press. We'll fix this. I have contacts, lawyers." "No," she interrupted, her voice breaking. "They're going to destroy me anyway. They'll always find a way to paint me as the monster. You're not. But you're with me. And that's enough to ruin you too." Grayson knelt in front of her. "Listen to me. I know you. I know who you are. None of this changes how I feel." She looked at him, her eyes brimming. "And what if it changes who you are, your career, your name, your peace? You are the only peace I've known since Olivia died, and if I have to lose everything, I will, but I won't lose you." Camilla cried silently. "I don't want you to choose between me and the world." "Then let's show the world who we are." That same day, Grayson called a press conference. Camilla tried to stop him, but he was determined. In the main room of the house, surrounded by cameras and microphones, he stepped onto the small, improvised stage and spoke like never before. "The woman beside me is not a shadow. She is not a scandal. She is my choice." The cameras flashed. Camila Reyes lost a sister. A part of her died too, and still she loved. She loved me, healed me. She showed me that the past isn't a prison. It's proof we survived. Camilla watched from the back, her hands trembling. "I've been silent since I lost my wife. But love gave me my voice back, and I use it now to say, no one will erase what we've built together." The press conference made headlines, but not the way they expected. Grayson Wolfe defends fiancé, moves public with emotional statement. From silent widower to passionate man, Wolf's transformation. Camila Reyes, the woman who survived herself. And when Camila appeared beside him at the Olivia Wolf Foundation's charity dinner, wearing a wine-colored satin dress and the simple engagement ring gleaming under the lights, no one dared call her a replacement. She was part of the rebirth, part of the healing. That night back at the house, Grayson and Camila were in the garden, the same garden where months before she had invaded his thoughts like a forbidden presence. Now she was everything most real in his life. "Still afraid?" he asked. "Always. But with you, I can face the world." He smiled, sliding his fingers along her waist. "I never imagined I'd love again. And now, it feels like it was always meant to be you. Even with all my secrets, especially because of them, they made you real, strong, mine." She kissed him slowly, as if sealing the end of a war and the beginning of an eternity. Because true love isn't the one that starts perfect, but the one that chooses to stay when all the masks fall. And all that remains are two naked souls, ready to rebuild together. 1 year later, the house was no longer the same. The concrete still framed the outer walls, and the glass still reflected the Los Angeles sky. But now the garden bloomed, the windows were open, letting in laughter. And the once locked studio now breathed with new, living art. Camila walked the hallway with calm steps, her linen dress loose, her hair in a relaxed bun. There was serenity in her eyes, strength in every movement. In her hand, a cup of tea. On her belly, a small curve, a secret no longer possible to hide. Grayson was in the studio, back to the door, painting, but when she walked in, he turned immediately, as if he felt her presence without needing to see her. "Everything okay?" he asked, setting the brush down. "Yes," she smiled. "But your daughter is kicking like she already knows she inherited your intensity." He walked over and knelt in front of her, placing his hands on her belly. "Do you think she'll take after my wild side, or your calm heart?" "She'll have the best of both, because she'll be born from the love that survived everything." He kissed her belly, then stood and embraced her tightly, as if, even after a year, he still feared losing her. "Sometimes it still feels like a dream," he whispered. "But it's real. Every touch, every morning, every new beginning." They stood there in silence as sunlight poured through the studio window. On the easel, a new unfinished painting. A pregnant woman with serene eyes, her face turned toward the horizon. Camila, her truest version, no longer the invisible maid, no longer the shadow of another woman, but the woman who was chosen, who stayed, who survived, who loved. Later, sitting on the porch with their fingers intertwined, Grayson said, "I still can't hear her name without feeling something shatter inside me. But it's different now. It's not pain. It's gratitude." Camila looked at him. "Gratitude for what?" "For you coming to that quiet house, for disobeying, for invading me slowly, and for loving me even when I didn't know how to love myself." She smiled and rested her head on his shoulder. "You weren't a project to fix, Grayson. You just needed someone who could see your soul beyond the walls." He kissed the top of her head. "And now, we are home." Because sometimes love doesn't arrive with a shout, but whispering through forbidden doors, in slow steps, until it finds the one place it can truly bloom, inside two hearts that refuse to give up. Thank you for watching my story. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to subscribe and turn on the bell for more stories like this one. Oh, and don't forget to leave a like. That helps our channel grow and reach more people who love emotional videos too. The next story is already on your screen, full of drama and passion that will stir your heart. Stay with me and let's dive into this next journey together. See you soon, my dear friends. See you in the next video.